knew this was going to heat up. We knew other people were going to enter into the race. This isn't over yet, but I can tell you this is going to push Trump in some more directions. Will he be defeated in 2020? No. But it's going to make him wake up. And it's going to make a lot of congressmen and Democrats wake up too, because their districts are on the line.
A couple of weeks ago, I think he tweeted out, unity and substance, unity and substance. And so as the Democrats, brought to the nation this impeachment hearing, and particularly on broadcast TV and cable nonstop, the ratings on Fox are off the charts. Many of the independents and kind of low information voters that are not on politics all the time came into this story, and it was a flop. I mean, it absolutely, if you see the numbers of independents, you see the shift over the last 2 or 3 weeks, it's been pretty amazing. And this is what the president said. His call was perfect, but he's making a very strong point. This is why he was elected to be president of the United States. He wants people to get more into the granularity, more into the substance of what went on. And as you saw as you saw the unelected bureaucrats, and right, I'm not questioning their patriotism, but as they went up day in and day out, under the withering kind of cross-examination by people like Congressman Stefanik, it just kind of, nothing came of it. And I think people are now looking at, and particularly independents, and saying, what are we doing on USMCA? What are we doing on opioids, prescription drugs, infrastructure, the business of the nation? Vanity Fair went into a Politico Morning Consult poll, and the number...
The business is not being done. People are sick and tired of political squabbling and nothing really of substance being done in both parties, not just Democrats, but in both parties. But this is going to be a black eye for the Democratic Party.
Numbers are stunning. I think by 3 to 1, independents don't know why we're doing this. Impeachment ranked last among their interests, even lower than the wall, which is not high for independents. So across the board, they're sitting there going, what are you doing? Why are you not focused on the business of making the country better, making the economy better? And people have very little time now. One of the reasons is Donald Trump's put everybody back to work. So everybody's busy. They can only watch this in certain snippets. And I think Adam Schiff did the president.
People are busy. We're trying to make a living. All these screwballs doing squat.
A great service this week by having these hearings and letting people see what's going on. And now you're seeing in these 31 districts, many of these congressmen have to go home and have to defend this week. It's going to be a tough week for Democrats.
Yeah, let's talk about those 31 districts. I want to get to Michael Bloomberg because you were so spot on. When nobody was talking about Michael Bloomberg, you came on this program and you said, I'm expecting him to enter the race because you didn't think anybody on that stage could truly take on Donald Trump. But let's talk about these 31.
I don't think Bloomberg's going to be either, but he is business-minded. And it's going to show the Democrats that they have not been doing the business in this nation.
Districts that we're referring to and where the vulnerability is. These are areas that Donald Trump won in 2016, but that Democrats are running for re-election in Congress.
Well, these are why these are important. Obama won these districts twice. Trump won them in 16. The Democrats didn't win them in roughly in 18. And these are, and Nancy Pelosi kind of handpicked these candidates. It's Max Rose in Staten Island, I think Lieutenant Commander Mickey Sherrill up in New Jersey 11. These are kind of handpicked, either veterans, people who worked at the CIA, handpicked candidates. When they ran, Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats said, never mention impeachment. Talk about health care, talk about jobs, talk about national security. And now they're put into a quandary. Those 31 are really where this impeachment, and I think it's Nancy Pelosi is risking now her speakership by continuing to press on and even trying to have an impeachment vote, which looked inevitable. And still, they're so invested in this. Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, and particularly the media. The inside the Beltway Democrats and the media are so invested. But she's going to risk her speakership because I think there's a guy named Anthony...
Again, I think he's spot on here. I think you're going to see her lose her speakership. I think you're going to see the Democratic Party fracture, at least on these issues.
Brindisi in Utica. He was interviewed by local TV on Friday and said, hey, I'm neutral right now. And this is after going through a week of hearings, or 2 weeks of hearings. So these Democrats who are absolutely essential to have independents vote for them, because these are districts that President Trump won. They are now in a quandary. I think many of them believe that if they actually vote for the articles of impeachment later in December, they believe they could be signing their political death warrant. And so that is why these 31 are so critical. And I think right now it's a lot of softness. I think you're going to see a lot of second guessing and a lot of backbiting among the Democrats as President Trump continues to say, I want more substance. And one of the things they're looking at is a potential Senate trial. Whereas on this show 3 weeks ago, I said, not just Hunter Biden, but Senator Joe Biden, I think, has to go before the nation and make the case why he's not above the law. Why did he try to bring American crony capitalism into the most corrupt nation in Europe and the third most corrupt nation in the world? And I think as these Democrats sit there in the 31 district and say, hey, if more details come out on Trump's side and now Trump's on offense, it's only going to make our job tougher.
So two things. On the one hand, you've got Democrats who may very well vote no in an impeachment if it, in fact, does go to the floor for the full House.
Let's go back to unity and substance. You've got the Republican Party, and I've been one of the rebels in the Republican Party. You've got the Republican Party more united than it's ever been, even in the run-up to the 2016 election. You have them saying, this is unacceptable, it's unfair, this man was elected, we're not going to let this, we're not going to let the nullification project on overturning the 2016 election happen. Everybody's pulling together. So you have unity. You look at Hurd, who is probably the outlier on the committee. He's basically said, hey, I am not voting for impeachment. So you have the Republicans totally united. On the Democrat side, you've already had a member of leadership, and you had Van Drew. You've already had 2 vote no, and now you've got the 31. A lot of them saying, hey, I'm neutral right now. So I think you could have a carve-off of up to a half a dozen Democrats that don't vote for this, which then turns it into not just a partisan vote, but a highly partisan vote. And we've never had that on any impeachment, just a highly partisan vote to try to impeach the president. That, to me, kicks off 2020 in a great way for the president.
And then the other thing you just said is, should this go to a trial?
A highly partisan vote. But these fractures and this election coming up is going to fracture more. And it may implode the Democratic Party, and they may be sucking buttermilk, you know up where. Frankly, I think there's a lot of things that are going to hit the fan, a lot of crap, to say it mildly, and you're going to see a lot of crap come out. And people in both parties, especially the Democratic and liberals and independents, you're going to see these parties have to make some decisions. Which way do they want to go for the nation? Beyond party politics. This is going to be a big fiasco for the Democrats. You wait and see. And I think the words that Trump said, that he's going to win bigger in 2020 than he did in 2016, are literally going to be correct. Mark my words.
In the Senate, then Lindsey Graham and company are going to be getting people to go down and testify. Already, Lindsey Graham says that he wants Michael Horowitz to testify. You're saying Hunter Biden will be down there. This is going to open up a can of worms.
Listen, this is why it gets back to the substance. You're going to have on later in your show Congressman Stefanik. Under the very limited rules that the Republicans had, she basically was able to I think, field strip some of the testimony by asking tough questions that demanded simple answers. If you think you go to a trial where you've actually got Donald Trump able to, and he calls it an affirmative defense, and you know when Trump goes on offense, it's tough, and I think you're going to see guys called and witnesses brought up that are going to just blow the Democrats out, including, I think there will be a huge effort to have Joe Biden come before the Senate and actually give testimony of why, as vice president, forget running for president, why, as vice president, he allowed American crony capitalism, which everybody's been fighting, to actually get involved in this corrupt situation in Ukraine. And I think it was one of the reasons that you had this young Zelensky president, the stand-up comic, who ran as an anti-corruption. One of the reasons I think he was elected is because of the things like what Joe Biden did. And I think he's going to have to answer for that. And if you ask these Democrats in 31 districts, they don't want any more of that. They've seen enough.
And by the way, when we're talking about the Democrats who are now explaining to their constituents what they've been doing for the last 2 months, they're also going to have to explain why nothing got done. In a few minutes, we're going to speak with the White House trade advisor, Peter Navarro, and he basically puts a list together of what he's calling the opportunity costs and all the things that have been left on the cutting room floor in terms of what they did not get done.
On Fox and Friends on Friday, President Trump talks about this. He talks about the opportunity costs. He talks about particularly USMCA. People, it's Democrat economists are saying this could add up to 1% to potentially the GDP over time.
Yeah.
That is manufacturing jobs for working class people, many of whom are Democrats. And so that's where they're going to have to explain, hey, we've basically put the country into a constitutional crisis.
Yeah.
Over the holidays season. We're not doing prescription drugs. We're not passing USMCA. We're just focused on this.
We want to get to Devin Nunes in a few minutes because he was right there in the room. He is also hosting a nationally syndicated radio show, War Room Impeachment, every day. Steve, let me talk to you about Bloomberg because you came on this program not just weeks ago, but months ago.
Yeah.
And you said, yes, Michael Bloomberg will likely enter the race because you didn't think anybody on that stage could beat Trump, and you think that the Democrats know that. Your reaction to Michael Bloomberg now officially entering this race?
But look, people should understand one of the reasons that President Trump's being impeached is losing the House of Representatives. Michael Bloomberg was central to that. He put $100 million in 18, particularly to take the House back. Michael Bloomberg knows how to apply capital to politics. So people should understand he's been working on this for a while. He put the $100 million in 18. It had a big impact. He's already committed with it. The Democratic Party's had a tough time raising money because the candidates are so weak against Trump. Bloomberg's committed $31 million. Now, I know this is to push his candidacy, but it's also going to go into some of these districts. Bloomberg's got this apparatus. I think it's Everytown USA, the anti-gun. It's I think, actually, on a grassroots basis and from a practical basis, a stronger apparatus in the Democratic Party. Michael Bloomberg's been putting these chess pieces in place, knowing how to apply capital, knowing where the pressure points are in these districts, knowing how you have to have a grassroots apparatus. You shouldn't discount him. And I say, when you look on that stage, and people should understand, the ratings for the hearings dropped every day as middle-class Americans tuned out. Right? The ratings for the Democratic primary are also dropping. And it's not just about no star power. They're not really, to me, having a serious conversation. It's a group hug up there.
Yeah.
You don't see any tension. You don't see any drama. You don't see people taking each other on. That's why Joe Biden's been able to go so far. There's no Democrats up there calling him out on China, calling him out on Ukraine, calling him out on what happened in the South China Sea, calling him out on supporting all these globalist trade issues. That's why I think someone like a Bloomberg was inevitable. A centrist, as the air comes out of Joe Biden, and people don't believe that Mayor Pete, a mayor of a small town in the Midwest, can really compete against Donald Trump. The centrists are going to have a vote, and I think their vote is going to be, now that Bloomberg's in. The worst case he'll do is make these Democrats, I think, tougher. I think he's going to force a real conversation on the economy and all this crazy far left stuff they've been talking about. Bloomberg's going to challenge that because whatever you say about his lack of personality, all of that, he's a very successful businessman and a very savvy person applying capital.
So two things. I mean, applying capital, the $100 million that he gave the House last year, he was successful. The House won the majority.
Yes.
If he's in the race, he's not going to be able to give $100 million to the House. Maybe this is a positive for the GOP.
Well, look, I don't know. Look, he's got what? He's worth 28, 30, $50 billion.
Yeah, that's
and I
true.
think he's told people around him he's committed to put $2.5, $3 billion into this race. That's a significant amount of money, and he knows how to apply it smart. Look, the only person right now that can beat Donald Trump is Donald Trump. There's not another personality out there that matches up with him one-on-one. Also, Michael Bloomberg, I don't think also matches up with him at all. But I think in changing the dynamics of the race on the Democrats, it will definitely change the dynamics.
Will Michael Bloomberg be able to resonate? And look what happened to the other so-called centrists that tried to enter this race. They didn't pass go. Look at how
Bloomberg has no personality. He's like a corporate SOB that no one wants to deal with. He knows how to make money. He knows how to use money. But for personality, he stinks. He sucks big one. And Bannon said it.
Howard Schultz right now. Look at Tim Ryan from Ohio. The Democratic Party did not want a centrist. Will they give him carte blanche to keep going? And will he resonate in places like Wisconsin, not New York?
Here's what they never give Trump credit.
So Steve Bannon saying, this is what they don't give Trump credit for. Here goes.
In a political vernacular, even the people on the Democrat, they're trying to run as populists. They still talk in political speak. Donald Trump talks in a very hard, tough, in tough times, he's a tough guy, but he talks in a very straightforward vernacular that cuts through all the nonsense, and it hits the middle class and the working class exactly where they live, and that's why they resonate with him. Bloomberg certainly doesn't have that. Everybody knows it's not just the lack of charisma. It's how you actually communicate as a mass communication. No one in the Democratic Party has today. That's what I'm saying. There's no one there that can actually beat Trump. What I do think Bloomberg does is reorient this campaign that now the centrists are going to have a say-so. And Bloomberg's very sophisticated on policy. And it makes a lot of difference if you don't have to go out and fundraise, but if you can put billions of dollars to work in this campaign, and he's going to I think he's going to have a lot of chits. I think a lot of these congressmen, the Democratic Party is having a very difficult time raising money against Trump.
Yeah.
And I think Bloomberg's money is going to call it. He's going to have a lot of markers.
All right, the next couple of weeks are going to be critical. Not only are you going to have articles of impeachment, because now it's going to judiciary, then to the Senate, but you're also going to have the IG report coming out. What's your take on the whole operation to frame Donald Trump in 2016 and what we're going to learn from this criminal investigation from John Durham and the IG report?
Well, we don't know if we're going to get to Durham soon enough. I'll tell you about the IG report. Here's how afraid they are of it. The IG report's not scheduled to come out to Monday, December 9th. They're already leaking this to the Washington Post and the New York Times
headlines.
To get ahead of it.
Here's a headline from the New York Times. Russia Inquiry Review said to criticize FBI but rebuff claims of biased acts.
That's how nervous they are. When they're leaking a report 2.5 and 3 weeks in advance, and to try to get ahead of the story, oh, nothing to see here, let's move on, it's just some lower level functionaries, that's not going to wash. What Donald Trump has said from the beginning, and you're particularly talking about FISA and FISA courts, those courts were set up, these secret courts were set up really essentially about the war on terror. They are supposed to be at the most pristine level, and to understand it's not going to wash. Comey and McCabe's a contributor on CNN, it is not going to wash, that institutionally, okay, this was a lawyer at the FBI, that they were able to tamper with documents and with evidence.
Now notice, Steve said, this is at the highest level of the legality system, our legal system. And it's not going to wash. People are not buying it. This is corruption at the highest level. Judges as well as witnesses are going to have to be held accountable for this. And I think this whole FISA thing is going to be revamped and made a lot tougher to do.
Evidence to go to a FISA court, it's outrageous.
Well,
I don't care how much they leak now to say, oh, it's nothing to see here and nothing to do at the top. There's going to have to be a full, total investigation. I think by the Senate is going to have something like the commission they had back in the 70s to review the FBI and the CIA and what their involvement has been in domestic politics.
And Lindsey Graham is among those investigating it. He was on this program the other day saying it's dead on arrival, this impeachment.
A full investigation by the Senate. What's the CIA doing? What's the FBI doing? This is really going to blow up past 2020. You're going to see this proverbial crap hit the fan. You're going to see the CIA and the FBI rein back in again. And they won't be able to do the crap that they've done in the past. I hope. We'll see if they get that far and get that much done in the next 4 years. Again, it's Roger Martin from Billings, Montana. Good day. And take a look at Steve and what he said. He's been right on. I think he's got some good points. See if it clicks with what you're thinking. Good day. It's Roger Martin from Billings, Montana. Go get him, Trump, and may the swamp completely or more completely be drained. May these suckers be actually, with the federal laws going to be challenged for federal executions, may people that I believe created high treason, head of the CIA, head of the FBI, Obama, Clinton, people that really did high treasonous acts, may they at least be put away, if not executed. If they get executed, it's going to put some fear of God into these SOBs. Let's see if it goes that far. Again, it's Roger Martin from Billings, Montana. Good day.